This week on football, I'll show you the 10 best fan-captured goals of all time. Man goes to the pub on his day off. Leverkusen players come face to Boniface. Wilfried Zaha comes good for Charlotte. And Simeone loves Conor Gallagher. Hello everybody, welcome to This Week on Football. It is me, Alex. Thank you for joining me once again. If you haven't already liked the video, do it now. It's just a great time to do it, and apparently if you do it right now, it brings you good luck for 3 weeks. If you subscribe, it brings you luck for 4 weeks as well, so it's worth doing. I'd do that. That's what I've resorted to. If you haven't already followed me, I am on Instagram. That's Goalposts TV. You'll see all the best bits on there. If you want to go over to my personal TikTok, it's at Alex Goalposts, and you'll see all the best bits on there as well. Without further ado, let's get started. Just quickly, by the way, something that I mentioned at the start there was the man going to the pub. That was Jack Grealish. He's been caught going to the pub on a day off. And if that's not newsworthy, I don't know what is. And actually, I'm guilty of it for talking about it. But something interesting has come out about that as well. He didn't just go down there. He also put $2,000 behind the bar for the locals. He put $1,000 in for the bingo prize as well for that night. That is top draw from Jack Grealish. I know it doesn't mean probably much to him. It's probably pennies to him. But that's decent. And people try and give Jack Grealish a hard time all the time. Watch the way he interacts with fans. Watch the way he interacts with people who are less fortunate than him, disabled people. He's got this real connection, obviously because with his sister with a disability, he's got this real connection with them. And it's lovely to see every time because you can see how much they appreciate it and smile on their faces. And yeah, he's a bloke. He just wants to go down the pub, have a pint. Like, what is the deal? I have no idea. It drives me mental when I watch people come out and criticise him just because he cost 100 million quid. It's not his choice, is it? Unbelievable. But yeah, Jack Grealish is a legend, absolute legend. I've always been a massive fan of him as a person. I think he's brilliant. He's a brilliant footballer as well. Right, this week I've got my team of the week. Stay tuned for that. I'll be doing my weekend treble at the end of the episode as well. So make sure you definitely stay tuned for that because last week it won you money. But first, here's a general rule for football pundits and just people in general. If you didn't think it last season, maybe slow down this season. And what I mean is football fans at the moment are so reactionary. Everyone's saying something to try and get a headline, and probably I'm guilty of it as well. But if you've got this really strong opinion about something, just because it's happening this season, look last season. Did you think it last season? No? Well, then maybe slow down. I've got some examples for you because the game has to respect consistency, and I'm a big believer in that. People get so hyped and so reactionary over little things that happen over a small period of time. Jean-Philippe Mateta scores 3 in 3 games. All of a sudden, he's the best striker in the league. It's the same, and I've got some examples here. It's the same for every little thing that happens. One good game means this guy's better than this guy. It drives me mad. But here's some examples. Mo Salah is not the best player in the world. Pep Guardiola is not a fraud. Saka is still one of the best right wingers in the world. Cole Palmer is still a phenomenal player. Ange Postecoglou is not a bad manager. Unai Emery is still doing unbelievable at Aston Villa. Arsenal are still a top side. Jude Bellingham is world class. Declan Rice is a world class midfielder. Phil Foden is not a bad player. Yohan Wissa is very good. Bruno Fernandes did not take Man United from 2nd to 15th. Harry Kane is still England's best player. And Erling Haaland is still the best striker in the world. Stop being so reactionary. These are things that I felt for the last 2 seasons. And just because there's a few new bits of information here and there, it doesn't mean that I have to throw everything out and go with the next big thing. It doesn't work like that. Football is a game of consistency. If you weren't doing it last year, I don't want to hear about it this year. And don't get me wrong, there's players that come and break onto the scene. But let's see, over a couple of years, let's slow down for a second. The whole Mo Salah is the best player in the world thing. Like, you didn't think that 8 months ago. And if you didn't think that 8 months ago, then maybe he's not the best player in the world. Maybe right now on form, he's one of the best players in the world, but he's not. And like I said, drives me crazy watching all these people, pundits in particular, because they should know better. They've played the game, they understand it. And yeah, drives me crazy. Right, let's get into it. I promised you at the start the 10 best fan captured goals. What I mean by that, if that's not clear, is they're goals inside the stadium where someone's pulled up their phone and managed to capture it somehow. Now, nowadays, it does get quite frustrating because majority of people are on their phones filming every second of the game. I've been to games where I've literally sat behind 10, 15, 20 people, all with their phones out for 90 minutes. That's one side of it. But also, you do manage to catch some absolutely brilliant reactions from supporters, from players that you might not get on TV as well. So let's kick things off. In at number 10 is Memphis Depay's free kick against Corinthians. This is a screamer. It is a thunderbolt of a strike. Bang into the top corner. Perfect view. There was like 10 phones all recording him at the same time, so you got a great view of it. It's a belter, and it's a goal that probably a lot of people might not have seen because it wasn't on TV. It's not in one of the top leagues. So yeah, loved that one. Number 9, Jadon Philogene Rabona. This is a great video for multiple reasons. He's done the inexplicable. He's managed to score a goal that's absolutely outrageous. But the guy's reaction on camera is so up and down. He's like, he doesn't know what's going on. And then the fans go absolutely crazy when he puts it in the back of the net. It's a brilliant goal and a brilliant reaction. So it had to go in there. Number 8, I've got Messi's iconic free kick against Liverpool in the Champions League. That free kick's one of the best free kicks I've ever seen in my life, from one of the best players that's ever played the game. And there were so many phones out that how could you not catch it? But there's so many great angles. The audacity to just pick it up and pop that into the top corner from that distance. And it almost felt like, I remember watching the game thinking, he'll score this. You just felt that. It was in that kind of mode where it was messy. It was a big moment. And yeah, the free kick just left. I mean, the goalkeeper could do nothing. The wall couldn't get up to it and just nestled in that top corner. It was brilliant. Number 7, Rashford's thunderbolt in the derby. This goal was out of the blue. And it was one of those where you're not expecting Rashford to score, let alone to come up and absolutely bash one into the top corner. Off the underside of the bar makes it even better. The fans' reaction, the fact that it's a derby, it's a magic goal and a magic moment captured by the fans. Number 6 is Garnacho's overhead kick against Everton. I noticed a theme when I was looking through all of these videos that a lot of people at Man United games tend to have their phones out. I'm sure it happens at every game, but a lot of it is at Man United games, which means there's a lot of Man United goals captured on camera. The fortunate thing about that is this goal is a Puskas award-winning goal captured by the fans. It's a great moment. It's an unbelievable goal. It came out of nowhere. And yeah, it was brilliant to watch the fans all around the stadium and just the reaction, because everyone's kind of in disbelief. Like, they cannot believe they've just seen that goal. But brilliant goal. Number 5, Bellingham saving England in the Euros. This goal was one of, I don't want to sound sad here, but it's one of the most emotional goals I've ever felt. I said it in the podcast the week it happened, and I was honestly on the verge of tears, because I think it was just pure frustration watching the way we were kind of going out with a whimper in those Euros when we had such high expectations, and the fact that Bellingham had so much pressure on him, and you knew if that goal hadn't gone in, he was getting it, and he was getting it for a lifetime, and the England fans were getting it for a lifetime. And then he plucks something out in the dying minutes out of nowhere, and it's audacious, and I think it just sums him up as a player. What a player, a big moment player, steps up in those big moments and scores that goal. It's outrageous, and it's a great view of that goal as well. Number 4, Gareth Bale scoring the best goal that's ever been scored. The goal in the Champions League final against Liverpool, out of nowhere, overhead kick into the top corner. And that is a moment that will go down in Champions League history. And I fully believe it's probably one of the best goals, if not the best goal that's ever been scored, because of the occasion, the moment, and what a player Gareth Bale was as well. And then you get it on camera. You manage to get an angle of it from behind the goal. It's just superb. It's a magic goal. Top 3. Number 3, Ahmad's winner against Liverpool. This moment was massive for so many different reasons, not just Man United, but for Liverpool as well. Because after that goal, Liverpool it was Klopp's last season. They were expecting these massive things. There was talks of the quadruple. There was talks of the title. And that goal just killed them, knocked them out of the FA Cup. Obviously, United went on to win it. But it's a last-second goal in a game that we should have really got beaten. And it was the composure from Ahmad. The touch he takes outside, and you think, oh, he's lost it here. And the fans are just all up. It's 2 versus 1. And then he takes that touch. It's like, oh. And then it's up again. And then the crowd goes nuts. Old Trafford explodes. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant to watch, obviously, as a United fan. But as a neutral, I saw loads of people talking as neutrals about how much they enjoyed that goal, that moment, because it's proper football, that. Number 2, Deeney. Yes, someone got the entire sequence of that Deeney goal on camera. Knockaert's missed penalty, going up the other end, Hogg, Deeney, and then the crowd absolutely going insane. Imagine you're a Watford fan. Imagine you're in that stadium and you feel like that's our chance. We're going to get to the Premier League. And it was such a big goal, and the Championship's brilliant. That sort of time of the season where everyone's playing for playoff places and getting to Wembley, it's magic. It's absolutely magic. And yeah, what a goal, what a moment, and one of the best moments that we've ever seen. Number 1. This is the best goal that has ever been caught on camera from a fan, and it's Ronaldo's overhead kick against Juventus. Real Madrid at the time, and obviously I remember this goal going in live, watching it live, but someone actually had the audacity to pull up their phone and get it all the way back then. And it's not the clearest of videos, but it's one of the most iconic goals from one of the most iconic footballers that'll ever play the game. It's a magic goal, and I remember at the time the Juve fans standing up and just applauding it. Like, you know, you've scored a special goal. It was a special moment when the opposition fans are applauding you. And the only time that's ever happened when I've been at a game is I was working at the time for Hereford United. And I remember Ricky Lambert scored a hat-trick against them, and everyone, all their fans, started clapping him. It's the only time I've ever seen it. Actually, Van Persie scored a goal against us when I was at Old Trafford when he was playing for Fenerbahce, and we actually cheered. I remember cheering because it was their first goal, and I think we beat them 4-1, and we cheered the goal, which is a strange thing to happen. But yes, Ronaldo, let's talk about that. That goal was outrageous, unbelievable. The fans, everyone's reaction to just stand up and appreciate greatness in that moment, it was magic. And yeah, I'm so glad there's been an angle caught from the crowd, because I don't think I've seen any other than just this one. So yeah, brilliant. Right, that was my top 10. Hopefully you've got some suggestions as well. If you've got any that you can send to me as well, I would definitely love to feature them, because it's the only way of me actually showing football or goals without YouTube taking my video down for copyright. So that's a sneaky little way we can do it. I love when people film in stadiums. There's a guy called Stretty End on TikTok. I think it's a guy. I don't know if it's a woman or a guy. I think it's a guy. But he has his phone, but I'm assuming he has like a little holder. I don't know how he does it, but he films everything, and the image quality, everything's quality. It's brilliant to watch. And I know a few people, fans in other stadiums, other teams are doing it as well. Look, it's not ideal for like the support, but maybe if 1 or 2 are doing it, you get some great angles. Right, let's do my team of the week. This is part of the show. If you're new to this podcast, I basically watch as much football as I can every week. And I'll only include players in this team of the week that I've seen the whole 90 of. So if I've not seen them play, I'm not going to include it. But if I have seen them play, they're going to be in there, which makes for some strange players in some strange positions and some Garth Crooks type positions sometimes. But either way, we had Gravenberch at right back last week. So yeah, goalkeeper. Josep Martinez. been called into this Inter side since Jan Sommer's injury. I think that's his 4th game now. I think it's 3 clean sheets as well. Just a really, really solid goalkeeper. You're expecting something big from a second choice goalkeeper to come in and fill some big shoes. Jan Sommer's a top goalkeeper. Martinez, I don't think you'd even noticed. Jan Sommer's a brilliant goalkeeper, but the game against Napoli that I just watched at the weekend, he was really, really good. And like I said, he's kept 3 clean sheets out of 4 now. So yeah, he's doing really well. Kelleher's a great example of that when Alisson comes out, he steps in and Liverpool don't really miss him. So yeah, I think they're very lucky to have a very good second choice goalkeeper. Right back, Ola Aina. He's the best right back in the league this season. I'm not saying he's the best right back in the league. Reactionary. He's the best right back in the league this season. And don't you even dare suggest that Trent Alexander-Arnold is, because he's not. He's playing in a great team and he's a really good player, but he's not been the best right back in the league. Ola Aina's having a phenomenal season. Centre back. Here's a question for you. How old is Marquinhos? Take a guess. Have a guess. And if you said 38, I wouldn't laugh at you and think you're an idiot, because genuinely, this guy has been doing it and been at the heart of the PSG defence for 10, 11 years. He's 30 years old. He's evergreen. This guy, I swear. I mean, like you think PSG for all those years, he must have been 20. I know that sounds like, but I just feel like Marquinhos, part of the fact is he kind of almost looks older and he plays with that kind of assurance of an experienced centre-half, but he's been there forever and he's only 30 years old. It's mad. And yeah, really good performance. I think he scored a goal at the weekend, and I just think he's probably the best player, I would say, that hasn't played in the Premier League, La Liga or Serie A, which I think are the 3 best leagues in the world. Obviously he had his spell at Roma, didn't really do anything, but he's really played the whole of his career in a league that, I don't know, I think you could argue is below the rest of the leagues. But when it comes to Champions League, he never lets them down. He's always really good for his country as well. So, yeah, I think he's been brilliant, played the bulk of his career outside the top 3 leagues. And it's a shame because he'd have been a really great signing for a lot of teams in the Premier League as well. Right, alongside him, Lamar Bogard. This guy is a football ghost. Nobody's heard of him. Nobody talks about him. I'm sat there when he's playing and listening, and the pundits, the commentary teams, they don't even recognise that he's on the pitch. And I can't for the life of me work out why. I watch some FPL football channels and he never gets a look in either as well. Lamar Bogard, I think he's only 21. He's been at Villa for like 5 years, but he's filled in positions sometimes and played kind of left of a back 3, and he's played centre half, and he's one of those kind of utility players. He comes in, I swear he's been playing midfield sometimes, but he's a ghost. He's a ghost. Nobody knows he's playing. Nobody mentions him. Nobody has said his name. I'm yet to hear anyone say his name other than me to myself. And I want to know why. His contract, by the way, is up at the end of the season. I think he's a really good player. He's 21. He's got a lot to learn. He hasn't had much experience in the top flight, but I think he's decent. I think he's very neat and tidy on the ball, very quick and strong, can win a ball in the air. I think he's got a lot of attributes. Left back, Federico Di Marco. I think I've been banging the drum on Federico Di Marco for a long time now, maybe 2-3 years, but really as of the last 18 months, I will say he is the best left back in the world and has been for at least the last 18 months. I think he's fantastic. It's not just defensive. He's obviously diligent defensively. He's got a great pass on him. He's quick enough to get back and forward, but he makes those really nice line breaking passes, and his delivery is second to none. There is not another left back out there, and I think only Trent Alexander-Arnold, in terms of a fullback, can rival his deliveries. His deliveries are unbelievable. Then at the weekend, you watch that free kick. He's just popped it in the top corner. It is a magic free kick, and I'll try and get an angle to put in this, because if not, just go and search it. It is such a good free kick in a massive game as well. This is, title contenders Napoli coming in and trying to take that title off Inter, and I just think to step up in that moment and put the ball in the back of the net. Look, from a left back as well, scoring goals, creating goals. He's fantastic. And that Inter defence has always been really great. Let's do midfield. Bruno Fernandes. I won't go through any much more with him because I've spoken about him at length. I've spoken about him passionately and got myself all worked up, and I've said it this week and I said it last week. He's a great player, underappreciated, and deserves a lot more. The finish, by the way, against Fulham was top notch. Alongside him, Desiree Doué. This is a guy who genuinely, if you'd have asked me in the summer, what do I think about him? I'd have said he's shit. Honestly, I when I watched him play, I was like, this guy is not it. And all I could hear was the commentators constantly talking about him. Whenever I watch him play, like, oh, what a player. You know, he's going to be some player. Granted, he was like 18 at the time, but it was over the Olympic Games I watched him play. I think I've seen him play maybe once. Was it for Rennes, maybe, before he moved there to PSG? But he's now playing for PSG. He can play in a number of different positions. He is kind of an out-and-out winger or forward player, but he seems to be playing a bit deeper because of the personnel that PSG have got. I was wrong. 100% I was wrong, because this kid can play. And when I watched him over the Olympic Games, he was so frustrating. But then since then, I've watched quite a number of PSG games this season, and he is fantastic. He's got all the attributes you would require for a player to play, I would say, at a higher level. And obviously PSG at one of the highest levels, but I think in a different league and against a bit more of a competition. I think he's really, really good. He's got 19 goal involvements in 34 games this season. Some of it obviously off the bench as well because he's been playing. And for a 19-year-old to do that in his first season at a big club, PSG, doing it in the Champions League as well. Yeah, brilliant. Finishing off that midfield, Ryan Yates. I love Ryan Yates. Love his personality. Love everything he does. He is a really solid player, but he's a really solid person. Like, you can see there's captain material there. The way he gets the players around him playing just seems like a normal bloke, and I love that. I love that there's just players who are just like normal everyday lads, and he's obviously had a really good career at Forest, and he's obviously taken them up and playing from the Championship into the Premier League. He's managed to keep his place. He managed to make that step up, and I think he never looks out of place for me. I think he's a really good player. Scored the other night the equaliser as well, nearly scored the winner, obviously before it went to penalties, but it got ruled out. Yeah, brilliant. Right wing, Florian Thauvin. He is a player, I think obviously Newcastle have had these players. They had Remy Cabella, Hatton Ben Arfa, Florian Thauvin one. They've had these kind of flair players that had never really been able to do it in the Premier League. But I think Florian Thauvin showed after he went from Newcastle and played for Marseille and scored all those goals that there was something there, and they were right to try and bring him in and make something of him in the Premier League. Obviously, it didn't work out for him, but for, I think, 8 seasons now, this is his highest goal-scoring tally already, and the season's obviously not even over. He plays for Udinese at the moment, and he's Udinese's kind of star man. He's everything. He's the player that you want to give the ball, get on the ball, and just let him play. He scored the goal, the winner, at the weekend, and then scored a belter, which got ruled out by VAR, but yeah, all round, what a player. I love watching Florian Thauvin play. He's one of those players that if Udinese are playing, I want to watch him for him. He's that sort of player. And just a quick mention on someone else who plays for him at the moment that I'm really liking the look of is Ekalenkamp. I mentioned him a couple of weeks ago because he scored that audacious goal that kind of like moved in the air. But he's a player, and I wish he was a little bit younger. But at 24, I still think he's got potential. It's just almost like he's coming into that midpoint of his career, and I want him to be a little bit further along. But every time I watch him play, I really like the look of him. So he's worth looking out for. Left wing, I suggested this guy was going to be the replacement for Kylian Mbappe, and I got laughed at, and people said I was ridiculous, that he wasn't going to do it. There was something about Bradley Barcola I saw and I loved it. His pace is outrageous. He is so quick, but now he's getting goals. Now he's getting returns. He has got 28 goal returns in 38 games for PSG this season. There was that space, that void to fill after Mbappe had his massive move to Real Madrid, and it was a lot to ask for a teenager to do it, but he did it. And he's doing it. And he's doing it on the big stage, doing it in the Champions League against big teams as well. And I'm really excited about him because I think he's got absolutely everything. And I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Mbappe, but I think he's well on the way to being one of the best wingers in the world, for sure, 100%. Striker, Finishing off is Eliza Mayenda for Sunderland. There were a couple of glimpses in that Sunderland game when I watched them play Sheffield Wednesday that I was like, ooh, I like that. I like that play. I like that kind of movement. I like that kind of sense to get in the box. And the header that he scored was that moment where I was like, oh, okay, he can play in this league, but he can play higher. He scored the first goal, which was a lot of luck, hit his hand, and then he ended up scoring. But he had to be in the right position, held it up and popped the ball away. But that header was top drawer. That was top class. And I think Sunderland have got some really good players. I think if Sunderland get promoted this season, they'll be one of the best equipped to go up. What I mean by that is their squad or their starting 11 has got an abundance of young talent that are just on the precipice of becoming really good players. Chris Rigg, Joe Bellingham, Mayenda, Romain Mundle on the left wing, Wilson Isidore. They've got some really good players. Trey Hume's really impressing me this season. I could go through that whole side, that Sunderland side, and there's a lot of players that are really good. Sirkin's having a really good season as well. The whole Sunderland team, every time I watch them play, I think every single one of them could play possibly at a higher level. They're just there. And what I mean is, like, obviously Sunderland get promoted and they're not going to win the league, but I think they're better equipped for the next year without having to sign anyone than maybe a Leeds would be, or maybe a Burnley might be, or Sheffield United. I think those players are just on the edge of becoming really, really good. Love Chris Rigg, like I said. He's someone else. And Joe Bellingham, I think one day will play for England, personally. Right, let's move on. I said to you about the weekend treble, and it won last week, and it did. Finally. We've had some nightmare weeks. We've had a lot of weeks where we've missed by one goal. Basically, for anyone who's new, the weekend treble is where I pick 3 selections for the weekend. You back it with a tenner or whatever you want to, or just play along for fun, and we make it profitable at the end of the season. You don't have to win every week. The idea is it's profitable at the end of the season. Last week's win takes us to a total profit of £69.24 for the season. So that is a total profit. That's pretty good off £10 stakes. That's not bad. There's not many places. I think if you invest your money into the S&P 500, you'd get 8 times your returns. We're on 7. So basically, I'm stocks and shares. But this week, I've got Brentford versus Villa, both teams to score as my first selection. I've got Burnley to win against Luton at home. Everton or draw is the double chance against Wolves. Those are my 3 selections. £10 on gets you £30 and 33 back. Stick with me this season, guys. I will be back next week, next Wednesday, and every Wednesday until the end of the season. Have a great week.